Welcome back to the question and answer session with Attira Kell N1ghtcob. If you missed the first talk where we talked about the Polaris concept and the expectations for 318, it'll be right above Attira's head right there. You can click that and go back there. If this is somehow you got this first, go back and watch that first and come watch this if you're watching this on YouTube. And it'll be the previous episode for those of you who are listening onto the podcast with Spotify and Anchor and all those things. So these are questions that are being asked by the chat here. They've asked these questions. We have a lot of them. And we'll do our best to answer them. Some of them are going to be individual to, say, like myself or Attira or N1ghtcob. Some will be for all of us. And not all of them will necessarily get answered because some of the stuff we may have already answered in the previous one. The first one is a classic, which is, how is everyone doing today?
Great.
Great.
Glad to be on the AstroPub captain's table, chilling out, drinking some scotch. It's a great day.
Honestly, I'm with you. I'm jazzed to be here. Somebody made a comment, actually. They're like, N1ghtcob's always smiling. Must be having a really good time. It's like, I'm always having a good time if I'm talking Star Citizen. And coming on your show and stuff like that is pretty much one of the coolest things I get to do during my week when I'm on shore duty. So, yeah, I'm having a great time. Oh, nice. I'll share a quick story. I did get to do something cool yesterday. I was thinking about you guys, actually, because we were talking about, on Armchair Admirals and Generals, we were talking about resource management and the new fire gameplay and how that's a big deal. Mm-hmm. And Attira, yesterday morning, I was in a firefighting trainer where they stick you in they stick you in an enclosed space, and they, no kidding, light an entire bulkhead on fire, and all the lights go out. It's filled with smoke. You're in gear and stuff like that. So I got like the Scott pack on me and all that kind of stuff. And, it's just one of those surreal moments that I get to experience. And it was one of those things, we were talking about how quickly a compartment fills with smoke to the point where you can't see. It literally took less than a minute with a small start of a fire.
That's
and
awesome.
It was already like dark. It's scary. And, we send people in to go and fight it and stuff like that. And I'm really looking forward to that style of damage control gameplay. With Star Citizen even more, and I got to experience that yesterday. So I'm actually still riding that high because it's that's like one of my favorite things to do in the Navy.
A good training event. Man, you'll feel good about that for a while. Yeah.
I was going to say, I'm looking forward to the absolute terror of a fire on a ship because of how quickly it's going to spread in Star Citizen. It's gonna be nuts. Like, people talk about, oh well, fire propagation seems to be pretty fast in Star Citizen. It's like, yes, because
that's how it is in
that's
real
how
life.
It goes. It burns so quick. So I'm doing okay. I'm coming off of the mind fog that is between CitizenCon and IAE, especially IAE. Put everything together, and every day I did a video for the Astro Historian and the AstroPub Live, and turns out that total in terms of content that I made is about 12 to 15 hours of recorded content. An hour and 40 minutes of just pre-recorded, edited stuff that I did every day. So I realized that's a lot. That's a lot for even me.
It was good content though, Paul. And I want you to know that we watched it. I know you didn't watch Armchair Admirals in general.
Oh God!
A lot of your content during the week. Twist it. It was really good. It was really good. It was really good content, though. If you guys have not watched his lore tours, I can't recommend his lore tours enough.
Yeah,
I'm being serious about that part. The
I
other
haven't
part
seen the latest one,
but
I'm looking forward to the one.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it.
I love your lore tours.
Thank you. Yeah. That's what I'm going. So my brother-in-law's here because he's moving down to Texas. So he's getting his job. He's staying with us while he's getting everything set up. So it's been. But at the top of all of this, I am almost done with school. So I've got 2 more weeks left until the end of the semester, and I got 2 weeks off. So I'm just like, I'm almost there. I'm crawling to the end zone at this point. I'm like, I'm almost there. I'm almost done.
That's good. Congrats.
All right,
Paul. Yeah, congrats. And with sincere hope, if any CIG people are watching, you need to make sure that Paul has 318 to play during Christmas break.
There we go, please.
It's for Paul, guys.
Yes.
It's for Paul.
It's for Paul.
All right, Kura Rayner asks, AstroPub, when CIG gets chugging at full production speed, what rate do you foresee CIG spilling out new star systems? I would say at the same rate that they currently chug pull out ships. Once the full pipeline's working well, I would expect the average to be one system per patch. So every one system every 3 months. Once they get full speed, full production speed, which probably eventually get more than that, because sometimes we have ships, we have like multiple ships per patch. So it really depends on the size of the team, the tools they have, and other things like that. So, all right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, 318, do we expect any flight combat changes, ballistic, distortion, master modules? Nightcop, we'll start with you on this one. Do you expect any changes to flight combat?
So I know it's leaks, so I'll preface that I don't know this with any certainty, and a lot of the people probably in chat know that leaks are a thing that kind of just typically happen with Evocati. I'm not going to name names, obviously. It just kind of happens. It's weird. The thing that I expect to change, and I've heard about like the ballistics rumor about ballistics going through shields.
Yeah.
And I'm super curious about what testing that's going to be.
That's actually not a leak. That was an official announcement from CIG.
Oh, that's right. It was on the patch watch. Yeah, that was on the patch watch. I am curious to know what they're trying to test. Yeah, I'm curious to know. Yeah. Did you have your reading glasses on?
I did. Yeah, I did.
Yeah, okay, I was gonna say otherwise. I'm not sure how you got it.
Fuck you, man.
This is gonna be the rest of the show, y'all. This is the rest of the show.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, I'm curious to see what they're doing with ballistics. The master modes, I don't expect to see for 318, and I'm anxious for the master big. That's going to change the way the game plays, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I think the big thing is going to be that ballistic change if you were talking about like space combat. And there was something about distortion too. There was something about distortion weapons, and I think even that was in the patch watch.
Yes.
About
I didn't catch the distortion thing. What was that?
The way it works is it no longer breaks anything, but it will it will reduce your ability to, like, it'll automatically turn off your, like, if your power plant takes too much distortion damage, it'll turn off for 5 minutes.
That's what it was. Okay, yes, I did read that. Yeah, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
I think they're building a lot of gameplay that's really going to support like piracy, and that's what they're trying to test. I feel like they're trying, and a lot of people are like, it's not building quite the pirate gameplay that we all want. What you guys got to understand is like they're trying to test out aspects of it to see what works and what doesn't, and they're trying to encourage us to engage in that style of gameplay in order to test it. They are not even that sure how that's going to work, because they haven't taken all the variables of what crazy players do into the equation and how creative we can be about it. So it's kind of one of the things like, all right, well, let's just kind of like throw them a few bones here and see what they do on their own, and we'll kind of gauge that, and then we'll kind of change the way certain things work to encourage it more or to make it fair or whatever. So there's that aspect to it. Just be patient with them and try and put it to the test would be my best advice with regards to the new combat changes. And I know a lot of people despaired too about the ballistics thing with the shield pen. Like, just try it out. See if it's a time to kill thing. Let them see what it looks like. Don't get angry about it. Test it for them and let them see the results of it.
It's creepy how much data they can collect.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, they can collect a lot of data, and if we're running ballistic loadouts and we're freaking nailing each other in PvP combat, and you're wrecking coolers and tearing up shield gens, and they're going to see all of that, and then they're going to they'll rebalance the game based on that information. So it'll be good. It's good testing. It might actually persuade me to carry ballistics for once.
Yeah, it just occurred to me, it might be something as simple or esoteric as they might be testing out damage maps on ships, because with the new salvage gameplay, it's like, hey man, how do we really test the damage maps? Well, I know the people who are rocking ballistics, that's going to go right through the shields. We'll see that right on their hulls.
Yeah.
And that might also encourage a lot of the salvage repair gameplay. And it's like,
Sure.
oh man, I got holes in my hull all the time because everybody's rocking ballistics. You get out of a fight and it's like, well, now I've got a reason to put some, recycled material composite on there, you know,
Mhm.
so that everybody's got ships that look weird, like they've been through battle. I don't know. Might be just as easy as that.
Yeah. What do you think, Attira? Any other changes, or we kind of gone through it?
Yeah,
Sorry.
we've gone through it. No, it's fine. I think it'll be interesting to see. I would just say again, nobody get too upset, because if ballistics are ascendant this patch,
Mhm.
I know it's a big word. That means they're better, Nightcob. Then if they're
There we go.
better,
Two shots fired back. Two shots fired back. I was actually feeling really bad for a second because I was like, man, I stole an officer's chance to speak. He's gonna really hate that. It's gonna make him angry. And then he's like, perfect timing. I can throw a 4-syllable word out there to just make him feel dumb. That'll be good. That's how I get him back. He's not educated.
it will it will swing back, right? So
Yeah.
in as much as a ballistics may be ascendant this patch, next patch they'll balance it out. So just everybody keep a cool head, right? It may suck for a bit. Hey, strap on some ballistics and go have fun, right? You're just gonna have to pay a little bit more to rearm and refit, but that's okay. And next patch it'll be different. So
especially as they move forward with all of the stuff they're making, because they're not standing still in terms of content anymore. It's all full speed ahead with a lot of this stuff. So that's a nautical joke there, Kel, if you didn't get that, because I know you're stuck in the land.
I was drinking scotch. I wasn't even listening. I put all my thought into enjoying the scotch, and then my attention turns back.
All right. Kazaram, I'll start with you on this one, Kel. Kazaram asks, any ideas of what the 318 referral reward is?
Oh, no.
I mean, honestly, I have no idea either.
No idea.
What do you think, Nightcob?
I have no idea. I know what I would like it to be.
Cutter, baby. Yeah.
Oh no, I don't like. Man, what you fancy officers want ships out of like referral things? I just like God.
They've given ships out of referrals.
They do.
Yeah, I know, and I don't want a ship.
What do you want? What do you want?
I want a flight jacket. I like the flight jacket.
Okay.
Sure. Yeah.
I want more cool civilian clothes that are going to carry over from patch to patch.
I want to be able to wear a
my
beanie
account
with my armor.
There we go.
Write me some code that lets me put on a hat with my armor.
With the armor.
Yeah. That's what I want.
I think honestly though, what we're probably going to get is that red code, the red armor, the code red armor. That
maybe. Have. Yeah. But which one? They have like 5.
And that's because they could just grab bag one of them and pull them out for us. Because, like they can.
Those are all good looking sets of armor though, so that's also an acceptable alternative.
I like the fabric heavy one.
Yeah.
The Morozov. Yeah, the Morozov.
Yeah, it's good looking. Yeah,
it is.
All right. Next question comes from. I'm going to screw this one up. Anselime 2901, who asks, "What do you think of the Polaris's engine room size compared to the rest of the ship? Is it too big?" Nightcob is the resident expert. What do you think?
No, it's not. I think it's actually appropriate. If you guys want a quick submarine lesson, the submarine engine room takes up a third of the ship. Honestly, a little bit more than a third if you include the reactor compartment as part of the engineering spaces. But engineering spaces account for the vast majority of the ship. The truth about, and this is applicable to a lot of Navy ships, with the exception of things like aircraft carriers, who are just massive and they have plenty of other things to do with the rest of the ship. But turns out power and propulsion, that is one of the biggest components of a ship, is getting it where it needs to be and making sure that the lights are on and that the weapon systems are powered. And that's why resource management is a really big deal for Star Citizen. They're going to quickly figure out when they go do these reconcepts of the bigger ships and even some of the little ones that, oh my God, a lot of this ship has now become relay networks, power conduits, power systems, fuel tanks. Those are very real problems when you start building an accurate space sim that they're going to have to deal with. So you're going to find a lot of ships, engine rooms, and engineering spaces are going to grow.
Mm-hmm.
It's a thing.
Yeah. I don't know if you mentioned it, but also like gravity generators. are going to have to be added for all
Yep.
those things as well. So
Yep.
that's something we don't have in real life that we're going to have on spaceships. So like that's even an additional function. And we know that they do those giant gravity balls is what they like to do. So those things they're not subtle, and they take up a lot of space. So all right. The next question comes from Kura Rainer, who asks, "Can I buy your unsellable redeemer for $1?" What? I can't give it to you. You can give me $1, but I can't sell it to you. I can't give it to you. It's literally stuck to my account. For those who don't know, I have a redeemer, which I hate. I hate the redeemer with a fiery passion. Just don't ever try to convince me. C Daddy CAG, who's in chat, runs a lot of the platform stuff for Star Citizen, and he got approval from the rest of CIG's heads to give me an unsellable, unmeltable, unupgradable redeemer, LTI redeemer, that I just have in my account. I cannot touch it. Cannot deal with it. So, thanks.
And you're welcome, Paul. You're welcome. I'm going to say it for them. You're welcome. It's what you deserve. It's what you deserve. You earned every bit of that redeemer.
Secretly, he loves it.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
I have not touched it once
since
it's been in my account. I've not touched it once since it's been in my account. And if I have to take it out, I'm gonna blow it up. I'm just gonna, that's just.
Did you hear that, C Daddy? Disable the self-destruct.
Oh yes.
Disable the self-destruct too. He can't blow it up either.
It's got a permanent fault in that the self-destruct doesn't work, and you cannot rewire it, and you cannot fix it. Oh yes.
You're welcome for that too, Paul.
Yeah. Yes, and Coffee does point out. Then they named it, and what did they name it? They named it Paul's favorite ship. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Oh man, the truest thing ever printed on a ship.
All right. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, "Does it look like the bridge of the Polaris shifted forward away from the hull? It seems out of place now." What are your thoughts? I'll start with you on this one, Kel, and then I'll let Nightcop talk, and I'll be right back.
I didn't think it did. I mean, and if it did, I think it was probably just an optical illusion of the program they were showing it in. I think it was still there. I'll tell you what I did like about the bridge. It's a big fat captain's chair with lots and lots of screens right dead center that'll allow that guy to see everything and present him with information to make decisions, which I think is key, because there's being a leader has a lot to do with your charisma and your ability to influence people to get the job done. But all of those people feed you information constantly that allows you to make decisions. And if you don't have information flowing in, you'll end up making the wrong decision because you don't have the information available. So it is good that there's an ability for that guy to input a lot of that or ingest a lot of information and then try to make decisions. So, and I think even our illustrious senior NCO here would agree that as a Navy enlisted leader, he has to have the right information to make a judgment call. If you don't, you're running risk. So it's good. I think they actually did a very good job with the bridge, and it didn't look detached from the hull to me. So.
What do you think, Nightcop?
I was laughing. I had to hide my face because I've even got chat like picking at Kell now.
I'm not even reading the chat, so live your best life, guys. What I don't see doesn't hurt me.
He can't. Yeah, he can't. He doesn't. He has his reading glasses on. I'm not sure why he can't read the chat.
I can't even read the chat. The text is so small, guys. Right?
Yeah, that checks.
Come
on. Well, I'll read the most. The funnier thing about it was somebody said, "Well, we should ask a real leader then." And then you transitioned to me, and I was like, perfect. No, guys, don't pick on him too bad. All right, he is a leader, and I do respect. All jokes aside, I respect what Attira does a lot. Like, he is a leader, and I have no doubt about that. And I can tell because he actually captured the things that I would say, with the exception of one thing. He touched on being a leader, charisma, and being able to the whole holistic picture of the battlefield. He's absolutely 100% right. The one thing I would add, and you almost have to. It seems counterintuitive, but the leader is one of those people that has to be one step removed. And that's why it's always going to be more effective to be a captain of a ship that's not the pilot at the same time. The pilot is in the fight, in the brawl, in the decision making of the actual execution on the ship. And even at the senior enlisted level and stuff like that, like I'm not allowed to do maintenance anymore. I'm not allowed to be so much of an operator anymore. I have to be a supervisor. And the reason for that is not because like, I've just risen above or anything like that. It's more along the lines of I need to maintain that step back so that I can take the whole picture and I'm not too into the fight. I need to be able to make decisions, using all the information around me without being in the information, in the data. And that's kind of a big thing with the captain's chairs and what you're going to see on ships and stuff like that. There's going to be spaces for that, and there should be, for multi-crew, because you want somebody that can take all the information, make a judgment call, and then disperse leadership and guidance throughout the ship to make sure everybody's on the same page. Because it's easy to get tunnel vision when you're an operator, a gunner, an engineer, because you think pretty much whatever you're doing is your own little world, and that's where you might have some cognizance of what other people are doing if you're good. But bottom line is it's easy to just catch yourself falling into that loop.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have somebody to sit back and do that.
Yeah. And as a, like, from a gameplay perspective, I've actually played a game called, Pulsar, The Lost Colony. And it's
The Lost Colony. Yep.
It's a multi-crew ship game that requires, multi-crew ship game requires like 5 or 6 people to help operate. And one of the roles is captain. And you'll be surprised how much the captain is needed, because everyone wants to do their own thing. Everyone has an idea of what to do. Everyone thinks they're the best at what they do. And you need someone who's central, who can coordinate. Yes, the gunner wants to fire, but if you have a good captain, a captain can basically drill everyone on what to do when you reach a situation, and they can do it instinctually. And I've played games of Pulsar where the crews are kind of, not too good at first, and then 6-7 hours in, you get into an area. The science officers immediately scanning up for any ships. They recognize a ship. They recognize it's hostile. The gunner's already acquiring sights on it, and all you have to do is just say go, and they'll move. The pilots will do the right movement. Everything, and that really comes down to having a good coordinator, which is what a captain really is. And in this game, like as complex as Star Citizen, you're going to need that. You're going to need someone to, when that routine doesn't work and something goes wrong, someone to shift and be able to do that, who's not having to pilot the ship at the same time while trying to figure out what to do. So,
yeah. Which I'll say 2 things. One, we actually, if you had watched our podcast, you would have brought up Pulsar just 2 days ago. Yep. So specifically, we were talking about NPCs and how Pulsar manages NPCs if you don't have a full. 2, Nightcob, there's a fantastic cartoon that I saw recently that showed an Army first sergeant in E8, and he's sitting there with his hands in front of his face here, and it's in the caption read, "The first sergeant trying to think about how he is going dovetail into what the CO is saying," right?
Yeah.
And then
you cut out for a second. Can you repeat that? I'm really sorry. I don't know what it was about my sound, but
I heard it cut out too. Yeah.
Oh, okay. You did. Okay. So it said the caption was that an Army first sergeant figuring out how he's going to dovetail on what the commander is saying, and he's sitting there very pensively listening, and he's like, "How can I add to this?" Right. So.
You know what the great irony of that is, from my perspective, it's not if I'm going to talk after the captain. It's not how am I going to dovetail into what he's saying right now. I'm on damage control. I'm thinking, like,
what did he say that is wrong? Oh gosh, yeah.
What he said, so that I can
just
relate
to piggyback on what the CO said. See, Daddy said, yeah.
I'm not trying to piggyback. I'm trying to I'm like, oh, okay. Let me see what I can do.
What the CO actually meant was. I do hope that they do give us some of that gameplay. I was going to say, though, for Star Citizen, something that I would like is even on a ship, and I'm going to go back to McCarrick, right? The Carrick doesn't have a CO's station on it, right? It has that the cockpit has like 3 pilot stations on it, and why the hell it has that, I don't know. But somebody other than the pilot should be able to designate targets, and then be able to direct gunners to engage those targets. Right now, the pilot has to do that. Well, the pilot's busy trying to avoid fire, maneuver the guns into the most advantageous position. He's trying to do all these things. He doesn't have time to sit here and hit like Alt-1 or whatever the control is like he's taking his hand off the stick or off the keyboard to do this. Like, the captain should be able to cycle through targets, designate targets, and then prioritize targets based on what the greatest threat is. And I think once that's done, then there's a host of other decisions that leader now has to make that is, directing, so it's definitely, there's some things they need to work on for what we would call command and control gameplay to help that flush that position out a little more. So
yeah. Oh yeah. All right. But to my opinion on the fact that it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter where you put this, the bridge. Like, the only thing that matters for like cockpit placement is fighters. You could put the bridge in the front of any capital ship. It doesn't really matter as much as it only matters for the pilot. And even then, the pilot, you're not really flying a capital ship. You're steering a capital ship. You're not
positioning it. It's all about position.
Yeah,
it's relationship of position to other ships and other objects. That's 90% of it. A bigger ship.
And that's one of the things that when they did that Idris on Idris fight, 3 years ago now, I was so irritated with it because they were dogfighting Idrises.
Yeah.
I was like, guys, come on, man. Like, you're in a like hundreds of ton thing. Stop trying to dogfight it. You should just be attempting to, within your little section of space, avoid fire while also keeping your nose on target so that you can lay in fire. It's not, let your fighters get out there and do what they're doing. Right. And I hope that when these larger ships get in, you'll notice, right, that we're not trying to dogfight these large fleets, right? And I've on my soldier's opinion video when I talk about capital ship combat, and I lay out all the various formations Navy fleets use as they're steaming either into combat or just steaming under normal operations, and there are reasons that they use these formations. Either they're trying to, but it's fascinating that, I mean, of course, the ones I put on are 2-dimensional, and we have to envision this in a 3-dimensional
space.
But definitely, I think it's going to look a lot more like Ender's Game, at least for now, where you have these large 3-dimensional formations that are attempting to push one side or the other, try to flank in 3-dimensional space, but it's not trying to close into like point blank range. You have to keep range for some of these systems to be effective. So,
yeah.
Move on from there. Next question comes from Northern Trooper, who asks, any concerns about the cargo refactor with ships like the Carrack, where you have to play a puzzle game to get the box out? So I will state this. It is the cargo refactor does not work the way you think it does, because it still works exactly the same as the buying and selling stuff has always worked. So you buy something, it populates in your hangar, you fly somewhere else, you kind of gets sold out of your hangar while you're in the hangar. The issue is we don't have the technology for the Carrack yet, which is what it's designed to do, which is to have those little cargo pods be modular, drop down or open up in some way for you to deal with them. So, like a lot of things that CIG does, they're introducing something before it's fully ready. So you're going to have edge cases like the Carrack, which was not designed with this kind of concept in mind. And even if it was, there's a lot of other factors which aren't in there yet. So what do y'all think?
I think it'll be fun. I don't think it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
I mean, people whine about cargo refactor really being a pirate refactor. So what? Right? I mean, if you are moving a giant chunk of, let's say, Quantanium that you've refined at a station and now you're taking it to sell, and these guys show up and they're like, give us this amount. Well, how about I drop 20 boxes of, Quantanium out the back. You guys pull that in and go sell it. And that's pretty cool, right? And then you keep on with your freaking cargo load and sell it, right? And they take that as payment, right? And they just have to swing in with their tractor guns, pick up that cargo, put it on the grid, and move out. I think that's cool gameplay. And, it deepens what a pirate might be after instead of just blowing you up or blackmailing you or whatever. But ultimately, so too, I think about it from a perspective of I'm going to be a vulture guy. I'm going to get out there. I'm going to do that, right? I'm going to have to. I don't know why they did this because it's not automated. So I'm going to be going up and down that. You scrape the hull, you refine the material, you turn it into a block, and then you have to pick it up and move it somewhere else at the back of the ship. Well, that's a pain in the ass. How about I have a freelancer?
You're going to need another crewman.
Well, I'm going to need another crewman, even though it's a one-man ship. But more to the point, how about I have a freelancer parked out back, and I just align the back of my ship and fling that thing across, and that freelancer grabs it, and we fill up that freelancer.
Yeah.
Right? And then he puts it on his cargo grid, and then we sell it and split the money. And that's good team gameplay right there with the cargo refactor. So I think that's definitely, I think it's a good step in the right direction. It may not be 100%, but I think it's a good step in the right direction.
What do you think, Nightcob?
I think it's just part of the big. They've got some serious technical debt.
Mm-hmm.
Most of these ships were designed before they came up with the idea of how these systems were going to actually function once they brought them in. And it's just like one of those things that's like, I'm sure there's a CIG employee who is looking at cargo refactor gameplay and is like, guys, I didn't think about, the fact that we have we're really going to have to get those cargo modules on the carrot working at some time in the future to make sense for the carrot to carry cargo. Cause we didn't design it that way. And it's just tech debt. It's tech debt that we're going to have to be really patient, say it again, really patient on them to circle back around. Honestly, we need this though, because what it's proving is exactly what technical debt they need to go back and adjust. They're going to have a bunch of players like, dude, this freelancer max does not work. Why do we have this sectioned off area where we put cargo and it's just a nightmare to get cargo in and out of? Please fix this. And eventually, it's just creating a list of technical debt that CIG will be forced to acknowledge and be like, yeah, okay, we got to go back and fix that one too. That's good. Glad we put it in so that you guys can test it and show us these things.
Yeah.
And we'll move on. Just be patient. That's all I can offer on that.
All right. Let's move on to the next question, which is from Kuro Rayner, who asks, any progress known about ship stealth coming online? And how do y'all see it affecting group strategy and tactics? Could we see players doing actual military-style reconnaissance missions against each other? Well, stealth gameplay is already in the game. Anybody who's been hit by an Eclipse torpedo out of nowhere will tell you that stealth gameplay is already in the game. There's definitely stealth. But as far as future stealth and the kind of group gameplay and how it might work, yeah. I mean, what do you think, Nightcob?
I mean, I think it is and it isn't in the game. I'm with you, right? I've been flying the Eclipse a lot lately. It's still one of my favorite ships. But the problem is, as you said, it's in the game, but it's not a gameplay style. Like there's really little you can do to either enhance it, degrade it. It just is what it is right now for ships for the most part. Component choices aren't really affecting it that much, marginally at best. Things like trying to approach another ship through an asteroid belt while keeping your signature low is not really a thing for the most part. It's kind of there, but it's not there. It's got a lot of issues with it right now. They need to go back and do some tooling, and I'm just hoping that comes along with some, this future diversification with components and all that kind of stuff. Because right now a stealth shield doesn't really do anything for you in terms of stealth, honestly.
Right. I mean, it's actually the Mirage. I think is one of the best size 1 shields you can equip right now, and it's a stealth shield. Like why?
Yeah, but it's the same shield hit point pool though as the FR66.
Absolutely.
The military grade A shield.
It shouldn't be. Right. It
Agree
should be
with
a
you.
lot
I agree
less.
with you.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree with you. But honestly, it doesn't really affect your signature though either right now.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. You could equip an FR66 and it wouldn't matter for the most part. So I'm hopeful that stealth gameplay starts getting looked at again when they start really refocusing on scanning, and you know, what's the other thing they do? Pinging and all that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like that'll come. It's just not there yet, and it's going to take some time to. Honestly, I'm at the point where it's like, you guys, do what you got to do to get master modes working, please. You can spend
Yes.
all your time on that for right now, as far as I'm concerned. I'll
Yeah.
I'll happily wait in the wings on stealth gameplay while you work out. What I'm hoping is the final flight model. Get that worked out, and then we can start talking about the minutia of
Final
like
flight
stealth
model.
gameplay.
Silly
Crossing my
rabbit.
fingers.
Final.
Crossing my fingers.
Final.
Silly rabbit.
What do you think, Attira Kell? What do you
I think
any
it's
progress
a
on stealth and stuff like that?
fantastic question, because as we know it, stealth gameplay deals with, and Nightcob's going to roll his eyes, it deals with your emissions and how we detect those emissions, which gets right into the video I'm working on. I've got all the audio recording complete, and now I'm in editing. And I'm, for electronic warfare. And half of electronic, well, not a half. So there's 4 disciplines, and you have electronic support is the act of collecting emissions, right? So seeing what's out there using the EM spectrum. And that's what we're talking about defeating. Stealth is a aspect of electronic protection, which is the ability to either absorb with certain materials and paints or redirect with angles, right? The emission or the emitted radiation, so that it does not return to the antenna and the receiver, right? So when we talk about stealth gameplay, there's a whole lot that we have to think about beyond, lowering our emissions. Wow, I'm sorry. There's a whole lot to it, but lowering our emissions, I got to get my brain, is a critical piece of that. And being able to push our emissions low enough that maybe you can get within 1,000 meters of someone before them seeing him, that's absolutely critical. We were fooling around the other day, and I mean, you could see all of us coming for 5-6K out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And
even in the eclipse, about 5K is about as good as you're going to get. I've seen it as maybe as low as 4.
So, I mean, they got to take a look. So, I mean, and we used to have this, like, there was a lot of diversity of components, and then they kind of leveled it all out because they wanted to make some changes to the way they did components and all of that stuff. And that's fine. Now it's time to start. I mean, and I think they could start now to give us some of those changes back in components so that they kind of specialize. Maybe military components have a higher health pool. Stealth components have lower emissions, maybe a little bit lower health pool. I don't know what civilians do. Industrial should have, we were talking about this the other night on Armchair Admirals and Generals. They might have fantastic.
That's the other show that we do, Paul.
That's the other show that we do, Paul.
Yeah. I haven't watched it. I was just letting you know.
Those might have massive ability to absorb variations and fluctuations in energy capacity, right? They're very, very stable, or they're stable and they can absorb a lot of punishment. I don't know. There's any number of ways we could do it, and absolutely they need to. But for stealth gameplay in particular, I mean, there's so many aspects of it beyond your ability to. For instance, another part of enabling stealth is the ability to jam out the opposing ship, the ship that you're trying to approach. So you have one ship over here that's banging away with jamming, completely washing out their sensors, and then you have a flight of eclipses coming in from a totally different direction in stealth mode, about to conduct an alpha strike. Right? All of that is stealth. All of that is a part of stealth. So there's a lot that needs to be looked at, and I'm going to go into some stupid amounts of depth in my video on how they could kind of, again, dial it up to reality and then dial it back down to fun. And that's what I would go for that.
All right. I will finish up with this last one, which is, could we see players do actual military reconnaissance missions against each other? Yes. 100% is going to happen. It's going to have to happen. because you're dealing with such vast spaces in Star Citizen that you will not know up-to-date intelligence on your enemy if you have to wait until the, if you're using long-range sensors, because we don't know how long that ping's going to come back for. It could take minutes before you know what's going on. You ping out again, it could be that whole fleet could be gone from your sensors without a reconnaissance there. We know that it's the case. That's the whole purpose of the Terrapin. The Terrapin's job is to be out there, get those information, and send those signals back to the fleet so it knows what's going on. Same with the tracker. Same with the Carrack to a degree. There's so many ships out there.
Yeah.
So I want that kind of now. Like, there are times when I've dabbled a little bit of PvP bounty hunting, and there have been times when it's like, God, I'm almost pay a player to go scout out what this target is running for a ship. Because I'll like be in my Eclipse and I'll be like, are they running a big ship? Because I would love to show up in size 9 torpedo a Carrack. No offense, Attira.
Carrots
have it.
Carrots, right? Yeah.
It's all good. Yeah, but I mean, like, or if it's one of those things like they're in a light fighter, it's like, okay, I'd rather get in my arrow if I just had somebody to recon them and tell me what they're flying and what their loadout is. They run in, they scan them, they get their loadout, and they come back and they tell me, and I pay them maybe like 10K, and it's like, all right, there's a third of the bounty. I'm in it for the fun for the most part. AUEC means very little. It's just, I want the kill. So,
funny story. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No.
The first video I did for A Soldier's Opinion was on reconnaissance and the things that we need to be able to do. And I think they've actually talked about this idea that like a Terrapin might be able to expand the sensor bubble of another ship. So that's important and allow you to see what the threat is. But beyond that, there's a lot of other stuff like electro-optical, radar imagery, right, of opposing forces bases. I mean, there's all kinds of things that we should be able to do, right? Drones, which is sensor probes, which somebody just put in chat. Yeah, so the ability to put drones out to recon, and then, but it's not just your ability to recon, it's also your ability to ingest that in some form of game mechanic so that then you can plan based on it. Right. So I can know where the enemy is all day long, but if I can't ingest that data somehow and then show that to my team and say, this is what we're going to do, this is the plan, then we have a different problem. Right. So my example was in bombing. I should be able to take some type of image of my target, go back to an in-game table, terminal, whatever you want to call it, and just put a dot on that target. Right? That's my dot. Now I have a guided bomb. I don't have to do dumb bombs. Right? As I fly into that target, I can now drop a precision munition right where I want it to go, destroy that target, and then fly away. Right? That is a super dumbed down version of what it's doing in life. Right? But it allows you to execute precision based on reconnaissance. And I think we're not, that's a long way out, but I hope that they're going to give us something gamified, some way to plan and execute missions with precision rather than just Leroy Jenkins our way a fight every time because that's all we can do. So,
All right. Let's move on to the next question. Northern Trooper asks, what do you guys like to see regarding the death of Port Olisar? I'm a big Gundam fan, so I want to see the Ninetales or Xenothreat drop Port Olisar directly onto Orison. I want colony drop. All right, that's what I want. I want colony drop. That's all I'm going to say. What do y'all think? What do you think should happen, Nightcob, to Port Olisar?
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love that idea, but I am also starting to grow gradually loyal to Port Olisar, and I don't want it destroyed. I just want it removed to some other place that makes sense,
Yeah.
In the verse.
Yeah.
So that I can visit it and have a moment of nostalgia, because I agree with people that it does not fit above Crusader right now. It really doesn't fit. And I'm okay with a retcon. I get it, guys. You got, decisions were made, the game evolved, and I'm okay with that. But I kind of don't want it destroyed. As cool as that would be, don't get me wrong, it would be cool. And if they decide to destroy it, it would be, you know, that'd be talk about an emotional moment for a lot of Star Citizen backers.
It'd break me.
Wow, really? That's all it takes?
That's right.
I
We're
mean-
fragile. We're fragile creatures.
All right.
I mean, honestly, just the image of that's part of the reason is like the emotional image of Port Olisar burning through the atmosphere of Orison, it slamming into a giant, into one of the floating platforms. That alone is just like, damn.
Yeah, it would be painful to see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be.
So.
Yeah, I actually have. If I can, I would like to see him turn it into like a nightclub.
Okay.
So like shift it to a different location, right? They have the technology, right? They have floating cities, and then put in an appropriately themed space station that can handle the freight and the traffic and the large ship docking and all of that we need, and then you could simply give us and like, it's not executive, because I'm not saying that only concierge should be able to go there. That's bullshit, right? Everybody can go there, but it would be anyone who's from the old days when that's the only place we had, right? Which is really who this is aimed at. You have you could do a pilgrimage to this place. It's just a really swank nightclub. So you got some freaking tunes bumping in like one quarter. Right,
yeah, you want an O club? We got it. You want an O
someplace
club.
else that's just like an awesome bar, right?
Yeah.
Why
Officers
not,
only
though?
over here.
Officers only, concierge only. The exact opposite of what I just said. I know you weren't listening, but it's fine.
No,
right?
I heard the tone of your voice. Not concierge, guys.
Yeah. Look,
concierge.
NCO clubs can be pretty nice too if you guys would, just up your game a bit. Just saying, like, quit drinking Bud Light.
Anyway,
I agree.
I'm actually stung.
I think the best option, honestly, if they're not going to destroy it, is to, and this is going to sound like a lot of pain and a lot of work, but they need to completely rework it from the ground up. Take the same shape and everything, but use the new materials and bring it up to standards and have it be something that it's not currently, because it won't. Fit
absolutely, absolutely. Give us some hallways in between the same side, right? And then have a little tram.
Strut.
Yeah, same strut, and then have a tram that runs between the struts. And again, you could have 4 different themed nightclubs or bars or whatever. It's just a place to come and hang out and chill.
Yeah.
Right.
And you can make it a giant.
Just fun.
You can make it a giant strip mall, like if you really wanted to. But as long as you keep the same thing, because it wouldn't work as a station because of the no hangers, all pads, that kind of stuff. But
yeah.
Keeping around.
I think it would just be a place that we go to be slightly nostalgic about when we had even less in the game.
Yeah.
Right. And you're like, oh man, it feels so good to be in Port Olisar. And then, you leave and you go do something else.
That's Attira basically saying, it feels so good to slum it for a little bit and get back to my roots.
Well, if I'm slumming it, then everybody who's been here since 2.5 would be slumming it, because that's when I joined, and you wake up to Port Olisar, and that's all you had, and you go out and you see Tessa Bannister for 2 hours, and you run those missions, and then you're done.
Shows up to PO, and he's like, wait, you don't have 12-year-old scotch? What kind of establishment is this? This was fun for 5 minutes.
The music on Olisar, I think, is really freaking, just really sells it for you, though. Because that's really unique. Isn't it? The music on Olisar is Olisar, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
And gosh, when you freaking wake up and that in the hab, that tiny playing, that's pure nostalgic goodness right there. It's
the real trouble they're gonna have with PO, I feel like, for nostalgia, and they're gonna have to figure this out. I'll wrap it. I'll get going on your next question, but it's the view. Because most of us have had the view from PO.
Yeah. Oh,
and the view from PO is almost unparalleled.
It really is.
Space station.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Nail on the head there. Nail on the head.
All right. Ram1313 asks, question: did any of you get a Galaxy? If yes, why? And when do you think you'll be in game and flight ready? I did not, but that's just because I didn't. It doesn't fit any of the gameplay style. How about you, Nightcob?
No, I am. I am sticking with my starter ship these days.
Okay.
I'm Avenger Titan. That is all I've got, and I'm sticking with the. I want to earn it. I want to earn in game. I want to start at
Okay.
the lowest level. Kind of like I did in the military, and then work my way up to something.
I was
Maybe
waiting
one day
for
I'll
it.
get to a tier. I was said maybe one day I'll get to a tier's level.
You never will.
Probably
It's
not.
fine. It's
You're
fine.
right. You're right. Have to keep working for a living. That'll be the what I have to do.
Oh man.
Okay.
Attira,
Yeah.
your thoughts?
So
Did you
no,
get one?
I did not get it.
Yeah.
I think I love the design. It's absolutely beautiful. I think they did a absolutely bang up job on the design. I think it may be a bit too aggressive a design for an industrial ship, but whatever. It's pretty. Um, yeah, I didn't have a need for it. I just picked up the A1. I can't wait to drop size 5 bombs on people. I think that's going to be a good time. Yeah, I didn't really have anything I was super stoked for. If they had offered at concept an exploration or module, I think I would have been tempted because I do like the design of the ship, but they didn't. So I was like, I'm good.
All right. Next question comes from Adam's Lantern, who asks, Legionnaire, great companion for the Polaris or the best companion for the Polaris? Start with you, Cal.
Well, is your Polaris going to be equipped with size 4 and 5 disruption? What do we? Oh God, I'm having a brain fart right now.
Yeah,
distortion weapons. Because if not, no. Do I think it fits within the lore? Sure. Absolutely, because you've got this patrol ship, you're out there, and it's a giant machine of death, and now you have to go put the little rib boat in the water and go over and conduct a ship inspection, right? And so your guys are gonna you're gonna get on that and go over and dock and conduct a ship inspection. Sure, absolutely, it fits. I don't know. In fact, that might be the best thing the Legionnaire is for. But I mean, best ship? I don't know. I'm not going to tell you how to fight your ship. I'll give you advice, but I'm not going to tell you how. So,
Nightcob, what do you think?
And it got me thinking. I had one of those moments where the CO was talking, and I was trying to think about how I was going to do damage control. That's why you saw me probably doing this thing with the fingers there. No, actually, he brought up a solid point. I honestly, I don't know if that's a viable gameplay option. I would love for it to be though. We just need to know more about. I mean, we know some things about the Legionnaire, and we know some things now about where they're going with the Polaris and what kind of gameplay it would be good for. I love the idea though that those two ships would pair together because I love the Legionnaire idea. I'm all about boarding actions on ships. That's going to be really engaging, really fun gameplay, and the idea of combining it with the Polaris is just like a really cool idea.
Yeah.
I hope it works that way. I don't know if it's viable. I'm kind of with Attira. Going to have to play the wait and see game.
I mean, if they continue the idea of this 5-minute ship shutdown, and then you keep pounding it with your weapon systems, and it keeps the ship kind of in a lockdown state, I think it would work well. Because, and that is kind of piracy / privateering where you're able to do that. To test it, they would need to give us like an NPC based mission. Like, go here, patrol this area. Oh, here's a ship. Go board that ship. You use the Legionnaire to dock, right? And then if they, and then either forcibly enter because they do something funny, or they let you on like a normal ship would, and you do a quick inspection, and then you pull off and you get paid. They'd have to kind of test out that a little bit and see if it would flow and work.
I love the idea though. I love the idea of the Polaris on the outskirts of space hunting down like pirate gang ships, and even if you're just going for a specific target or a couple targets that are really high value and the rest are kind of like, yeah, if we shoot them in the process, that's fine. These two need to come back alive. So you're out there disabling ships with EM torpedoes, and then you're sending your Legionnaire out to do the boarding action to make sure you pull the viable targets back alive. I get chills just thinking about it. Too bad that's too bad that's a long ways off.
Both of those are a long ways off. Yeah.
That'd be a very complex operation.
Yeah.
If we could pull that off, it would be super intense. And again, it gets back to something Nightcob has said in Armchair Admirals and Generals. The primary game loop in Star Citizen is
preparation. I'm stealing that line from Paul. Don't give me credit. That's him.
Oh, okay.
I've been stealing that from Paul.
You said planning the other day.
Or planning. Well, planning, preparation, same
thing. But yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. The primary gameplay loop is is hurry up and wait for Star Citizen. Prepare for everything, because if you don't prepare for everything,
that's the Navy's primary game loop. That's not Star Citizen.
Well, you need to know what you're doing and where you're going and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
So, all right. I agree with what y'all said. It would be good, but it really depends on the mission profile you want to do with it. Like, if you want to do a Legionnaire, that's a great option for, like, enforcement. You're in an area, no one should be in this area. Someone comes in, you tell them to go skedaddle. They don't skedaddle. Well, time to figure out why you want to come to our place so badly. Send out the Marines. So,
yeah.
All right. Next question comes from Risto Squared, who asks, question, will the Galaxy be able to drop off the freight module, then quickly pick up another freight module? That's a good question for like a quick drop off and retool. I don't think we'll know. I really don't think we'll know. But what do y'all think? Do you think we could be able to like hot swap modules on something like a Galaxy? Start with you on this one.
Do you want to take it? You want to take it, Attira? Because we talked about this at length.
No, I'm going to give it to you. You absolutely have the solid understanding of this and answer. So take it away.
Now, I personally don't like the idea of quick swap modules.
Okay.
Especially depending on the module. Like, that's a big thing for a ship to go through, especially with the size of those modules on the Galaxy. Those are big. When you do a module swap, it should cost you time and it should cost you money. Regardless of, modularity being I'm going to use the words quick and easy swap. Keep in mind that's a relative term. Like, what you would be talking about doing if you were to take a ship and drastically change the mission of the ship without even talking about modularity, it would take you years. You would have to redefine all the component pathways, all the logistical support of whatever module or however you're retooling the ship. So the idea of taking a huge module out of a ship and putting a new one back in, that costs you time and money. And it should be that way. It should be a conscious decision that, all right, as my planning, I'm getting ready this weekend to go out with my org and do a different style of gameplay. Hauling, mining, refining, whatever. And it has to be a conscious decision. And I love the idea that you're going to be like, I'm going to have to figure out a night to log in, take my Galaxy over to Cousin Crow's, so that's going to take some time. And then maybe you get interdicted on the way or something like that, and some other interesting gameplay happens to you, but you have to take it to a new location, have to get it there, and then execute the module changeout. And they're going to tell you it's going to take time and money. And you have to know that that's going to happen. And that's okay, because that's part of your planning game loop. And that's what it should be. It is no small thing to entirely retool a ship for an entirely different mission. And the idea of just dropping a module off, well, keep in mind, right, that module has got your relay network built into it. There are relays and conduits running through that module to power certain systems from the engine, from the power plant, and everything like that. So you can't just like leave the module wherever you want to go and just like, well, I'm not really changing the mission. I'm just dropping the freight module off, and then I'll put a new freight module in it, and like it's plug and play. That's too much, I think, for modularity. I think you need to maintain some immersion instead of just stepping it all the way back to the rule of cool.
Yeah,
that's my thought.
I will agree. Kel, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, a follow-on question in the chat was moved, or do you think it's not required, i.e. gaming magic? So I think we divide that into two things. We have the alpha version of that, which is, I hope they put that on like a claim screen, so you can claim the module and move that way, and then it will reappear at the new location. But as Nightcob would agree, putting a module on a ship. It's designed to be the ship, not in a ship. So, I mean,
Mhm.
the idea that you can move one of these modules without significant effort is kind of far-fetched. So at game launch, I would expect there to be some type of quanta-based shipping mechanism
Mhm.
that would
Yeah.
allow us to move these from point A to point B. Because again, right, the worst thing to ever happen would be for them to lock this behind Cousin Crows, and then you spawn at Microtech. And all of your stuff goes to Microtech, including the modules, and now you can't load your modules because there's not a Cousin Crows there.
Yeah.
So that would be a train wreck, and you would have so many people just pissed off and angry and screaming about it. So for alpha, I think you should just be, I mean, alpha may just be equip it like a component, right? Put it in, you go. For game launch, I think it has to be something like, if you're in a different system, you have to hire Quanta to go to where your module is and bring it to you, and that's another time sink. And then now you're going to then you have to have that installed at the new location, or you have to take your ass all the way back and have it installed where it's located and then come back. And that's just a part of that planning game loop that you're going to have to execute.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that too. All right, let's move on to some quick ones, because we're heading up into an hour, and I think a lot of these are pretty quick. Alcinor asks, how the box missions will change with cargo refactor? They won't.
Yeah, they will.
Not initially. They'll change eventually, but all they'll change is the quantity and size. So instead of picking up one box, you might pick up 7 or 10 or one big box or
one big one. Yeah.
Yeah. And that will be determined, but that's down the line. Like 3
gotta have that rifle tractor beam to lift the big one though.
Or a nice big mule, to be
or
able to
mule.
lift it up into yeah. So
that'd actually be pretty damn dope.
To have the mule drive up and pick it up and drive it on.
Well, yeah, like the only way to move it is to forklift it into your cutlass or whatever, and then that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Let's see, next one. I think this is for me. If Drake were to make a ship that is a bar/pub, what would it be called? It would be called
Drake Purple.
Drake Purple. Yes. The Cutlass Purple. Or it would be called the
Cutlass Purple, yeah.
The Cutlass Purple. I'm trying to think of the name of it would be called the Drake Tavern. That's what it'd be called. I'm trying to think of like an old-timey Navy, old-timey Age of Sail name for pubs and bars other than the pub would be a tavern.
Oh, in that case, I might call it the Ration.
No, that too, yeah. Or the Head. Or not the Head, that's be the bad one.
Oh, God, the Head? No.
I mean, that's what people joke about it.
That's a giant toilet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that's what we call toilets. I don't understand.
The mess.
But all Navy folks used to get a rum ration. And so I think the Ration would be a fantastic name for a Drake.
A ration or the mess.
I'll give you,
the Drake mess, which would also be a good joke, a double entendre.
Yeah, that would be good entendre.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I'll give you a couple good Navy traditional bar names and stuff like that. If you want like a senior enlisted's club, like that would be, not as fancy as an O club, but we call it the Goat Locker. That's traditional.
Okay.
And then, that's popular. And then the Horse and Cow. The Horse and Cow is actually a very popular old school, like Navy pub bar kind of thing.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah, dig it.
There you go, CIG. Hope you were listening. There you go.
Yeah.
Looking forward to that.
And they could simplify some of those just to be like the Drake Goat.
Ooh, I'm down with that.
Yeah.
I'm down with that. The Drake Goat.
Yeah.
It'd be good.
Yeah.
It'd be what is it, luxury on the cheap?
Yeah.
Well, if you guys didn't know, that's what they call chiefs in the Navy. They call them goats.
Goats.
That's why we say the Goat Locker. That's the chief's quarters. Yeah.
There you go.
If you guys haven't noticed,
you just stole Nightcob's money, CIG. That's a surefire way to get $1,000 out of Nightcob.
Yeah.
Is to make a capital class Drake ship bar.
Yeah.
Called the Goat.
Steal
Steal that money. Gone.
Okay, this is a good. I think this is one for you, Nightcob. Who should make a Star Citizen nuclear submarine, and why is it another Aurora variant?
You know who I want to make that kind of ship? And I'm sorry, I appreciate the joke, by the way.
Yeah.
But immediately my mind goes to Anvil.
Yes.
I want something like that from Anvil, like really bad. I love Anvil's style, and I love that it's like the new and upcoming competitor to Aegis's old look. And Aegis has got the Eclipse, which is like my closest thing in game right now to a nuclear submarine with its size 9 torpedoes, and I love flying it for that reason. But I want a competitor. I want a competitor from Anvil, like really bad, because the Eclipse is alone in its market right now from Aegis, and
Mhm.
Anvil's trying to take that top spot, and I would just really love it if they competed. That'd be my thing.
You can also have the.
But would you want a Eclipse competitor, or would you want a what is it? A Retaliator competitor?
I'll take either. If I'm going to be honest, I'll take either. I just want them to compete with Aegis in the game of torpedoes. And I know that the Gladiators kind of like stretching into that line, but it's not at the
Size
same
5.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need something. Yeah, and it's not any way like stealth
Yeah.
gameplay or anything like that. So I kind of want something stealth related. It's not. I know they got the Hornet, but Hornet doesn't really count in that. That's a stealth
Yeah.
fighter. That's the Saber. If anything, that's more of like a Saber competitor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Ansel Me 2901, who asks, "What is your modern day U.S. Navy or other Navy equivalent to the Polaris?"
We don't have one.
We don't have one. There's actually, so other countries field Corvettes. Goodness, gosh, go watch my capital ship video on A Soldier's Opinion. I'm sorry because I can't remember off the top of my head, but I do talk about a modern
Corvette.
Corvette that I think is out of Northern Europe.
Okay.
But there are definitely existing Corvette class vessels out there that are multi-role vessels that do a little bit of everything that are out there. They're top tier, but we don't field one in the U.S. military.
Yeah. Honestly, like I'll go back to what we said though. Like the Polaris is shaping up to be closer to a submarine than it is like a surface combatant. The way it's coming with the torpedoes and the turrets are there, but they're not. That's not his primary weapon.
That's self-defense, baby. That's old crap. Something's next to me.
Yeah.
How about the littoral ship? Gross.
Literal ship. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, littoral. He's talking about what would you call it? Brown water? Is that what that is, or is it green?
That's brown water Navy. That's brown water Navy.
Yeah.
So.
If you want me to explain it, I will, but we don't want to take up too much more time.
Tree's already explained it to me. I know that what it was talking about, the LCS, yeah. What did you say? I think the closest you could have to its role, sort of, is in the U.S. would be something like a Coast Guard cutter in terms of patrol and police enforcement ship.
Sure, yeah, but that's not a gray hull. That's not a gray hull, though. Yeah.
But yeah,
they're not going to carry the missile defense systems and the missile and the offensive systems and the EW systems that a Corvette would actually carry. They're
And but I agree. I think it's especially even the name, which is in reference to the Polaris missile system, which is because why they have so many freaking missiles on the damn thing.
Sure,
is a nod to it being a submarine. So yeah, I agree.
So I saw in the chat Flower class. So the Flower class for the Brits was a World War II Corvette that was repurposed. It was meant to be a brown water ship, and they turned it into a blue water escort vessel. But the Flower class is kind of the quintessential model for the World War II Corvette. But yeah.
And for those of you who don't know what brown water is, what is brown water versus blue water, Nightcob?
Brown water is essentially what you're talking about, like designed to be operated near and close to land. So when you say brown water ships, what you're talking about is things that are supposed to be operated near the coast because their range is not that far. Blue water boats are the ones that are designed to be out in the deep, like outskirts of, in middle of the Atlantic,
Mhm.
travel with long range stuff like that. So by definition, like all of our aircraft carriers, all of our submarines are blue water boats, and we have blue water like destroyers and all that kind of stuff. But brown water fleet is designed with limited range, littoral, so it's designed for basically, I don't want to say self defense because obviously in certain areas of the world you can use it offensively depending on if you have nearby neighbors. But you're limited in your range. That's why we
Yeah.
say the Navy is a blue water Navy because we build ships with the intent of global
Mhm.
force projection. So a
Whereas
lot of
the Coast
countries
Guard
build
is very brown water.
Yeah.
exactly.
And for those of you who don't know why it's called brown water, it's because blue water, when you get into the deeper oceans, you can't see the bottom, but as you get closer to the shore, you actually see, like you can actually start
Yeah.
seeing the ground. So it kind of changes the color to being a little bit more brownish or a little different, shallower water looks different if you've ever done so. For those people who've never lived near the ocean, no idea what we're talking about. So
It's all good. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I'll tell you guys right now. I've been out in the deep. But I mean, like when you're close to shore, even in the pretty places like Hawaii and stuff like that, compared to what I've seen out in the middle of, I could pick a few oceans, but Indian, Atlantic, Pacific, like that's trash water. That's
yeah,
swill.
yeah.
I'm being real.
All right. Question from Anselmi: should nuclear missiles be modeled in Star Citizen?
I used to think so, but not really.
We have the equivalent in the Star Citizen lore, which is called antimatter torpedoes.
Yeah,
The,
yeah.
the problem is that nuclear power does not work in the way that the nuclear weapons do not work the way that the movies think they do in space. One of the reasons why
Well, I'll be honest, nuclear power doesn't either.
Yeah, true.
Nuclear power doesn't either. Just to be clear,
Yeah.
99% of the stuff that comes out on TV is myth.
Yes. But then nuclear weapons, the reason why nuclear weapons are so devastating on Earth has a lot to do with atmosphere and atmospheric pressure and back blasts and a lot of stuff like that.
But we've talked about orbital bombardment, and nukes would be good for that. I feel like, right?
Mhm.
And I absolutely highlight this in my EW video. Get so technical in it. We are talking about a game, and the game has to be balanced. And gosh, if you're gonna shoot a bunch of damn nukes at some opposing guy's base and just vaporize everything in the area, and they don't really even get a chance to defend, that's not balanced, right? So it kind of, yes, would they exist in space combat? Probably. Do we need them in this game?
Nah.
Not really.
Yeah. All right. Next question comes from Anselmi 2901, who asks, should we have Tavarin capital ships in the near future? Yes. I'm just going to answer that for everybody. Yes. More ships is always a good thing, and everyone loves Tavarin. So
gosh, yeah, I mean, those would have to be like Asperia masterpieces, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, that's huge stuff.
I think it would be fun, but I mean, I don't think they would be like the Banu Merchantman where you have an actual Banu built ship.
Yeah,
it would have to, because they're not allowed to like maintain a military anymore, and they're completely integrated into the UAE, so they're not building warship. So
yeah, it'd have to be a little different like that. So
I think they'd be really cool to see, though. Gosh, giant bird capital ships. Be pretty awesome.
I love the Tavarin style. I would gladly see those ships come into the game.
CIG, if you're listening to this, I want an Anvil tank before we get an or a Tavarin tank before we get a Tavarin capital ship, because one, you can get that to us faster, and but bird tank first, then bird cap ship. But I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah. I'm okay with waiting on the bird cap ship, but any more Tavarin stuff on the smaller side, I'm down with in a heartbeat.
Yeah. I think it's pretty cool.
All right, Ansel, let me ask.
I would also like to say, just out of that, medium and heavy fighters from the Tavarin. That would also be cool. Yeah.
The Jackal. Give me the Jackal,
Yeah.
CIG. The
Yeah,
two
you've mentioned the
person
Jackal.
heavy fighter. It's mentioned in lore. The Jackal is a 2-person heavy fighter from the Second Tavarin War, and it's like it's heavily based off of. It's kind of like the reverse of the Hurricane. It's kind of the reverse, where the Hurricane's all offensive, the Jackal's defensive, where it has its secondary person actually rotates the shields to protect against oncoming fire. While the
that's
flies.
cool.
Careful there, Paul. You're going to get Attira started on defense wins championships, you know. So,
No, logistics wins championships, especially in warfare. Get on my level.
And it was really cool to see them to see those work the way that they did and that kind of stuff. So
yeah.
That would be cool though. That would be cool gameplay. That would be fun.
It's like Rio's seat being more of a defensive position versus an offensive position, which is a nice little like tanky sort of thing.
Yeah.
I'm down.
All right. Anselmi 209 asks, drones for Polaris? I don't think it.
I don't think so.
No. If you want,
it's not really what it needs.
No. If you want a drone ship that does the same thing the Polaris does, then get the Nautilus. That's what the Nautilus does. It's a drone ship, effectively. Even though it deploys mines, it also deploys drones and such. So, all right.
But the caveat there is that you're basically buying an auxiliary ship versus a line combat ship.
And for gameplay point of view, you're buying a buffer or a support rather than buying a tank.
Yeah, you're buying a support ship. Sure.
Yeah. Now you're going to get them on the logistics wins championships game.
Although I'm still unsure how mines are going to work in 3-dimensional space, but
yeah,
sure. I get 10, but I need 10,000. How is this going to work?
Yeah.
Based off of what I've heard from it is that they are not mines in the traditional sense. They actually track. So they're more like
that's what they'd have to be.
They're like guided torpedoes, or like they'll sit in an area and then it'll pick up a signal and just start moving its way towards that target to try to catch up to it and blow it up.
Okay. Okay, that might work.
Yeah.
Sleeper torpedoes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I've got 4 questions left. This one I don't know, and maybe you know. Mr. Bathsalts98 asks, there's STF ships booked in for Q4 release. Any rumor on what it might be?
STF?
I don't know what STF stands for. I'm assuming he's saying that there's some ships on the roadmap.
Straight to flyable. Straight to flyable is what he means.
Straight to flyable.
Yeah.
Oh, that's, cool. Another acronym.
There's a ground vehicle that was been discussed multiple times. It's not been released yet. That's not the Steve. So I think it's a ground vehicle. And if I have anything to say about it, I really hope it's the a Ursa rover with it's medical, a medical Ursa rover. That'd be my hope.
That's a variant, but yeah.
Yeah, it's straight to flyable though, so straight to try.
I think they count the variants as the straight to flyables though.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
like the C8R was a straight to flyable. So, what do y'all think? Any ideas?
I have no idea what they have planned. So I could tell you that
I
would also love for them to give us a Ursa sized APC.
Yes, you mean the Marine Rapid Deployment Vehicle, their RDV, which is what the Ursa is based off of, which is a Marine combat vehicle. So
that would be
fun
fun.
About.
So
yeah.
Well, they got.
I just saw Choo in the chat. No.
yeah, right.
All right.
They've got the ground vehicle
nothing else on the
coming
Spartan.
Yeah.
I just see somebody say Spartan. No, we need to get away from the Atlas platform. The Atlas platform can only be carried by like 3 ships. And in my opinion, we need to focus on ships or on ground vehicles that the entire community can enjoy, at least for a little while. Mm-hmm. Right. So yes, vehicles that large absolutely have a place in ground combat. We have them in real life that are that big. But it's a game and we want people to be able to take these things and go places with them and use them. And not many people can move an Atlas chassis vehicle. So I would I see people in the chat. I hope not. Let's move away at least for a time from the Atlas platform and find a completely new platform that is something that smaller ship can move. I think that's where we need to be.
All right.
An Origin Tonk. It's got really sexy seats in it. Vibrators
leather
in the back.
Yeah.
It's right up your alley. I knew you were going to talk about the Origin tank.
Yes, Origin
Yeah,
tank. Oh, just
I
lean
want
back
my
in it. It
luxury
massages my back
and
while I'm killing
military
the
at the same time.
Amazing. Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so this I think is more for Tree. Drakelith asks, with the influx of new players, I need to know how many packs of crayons do you recommend stocking per new player? At least one SCU versus of crayons. You need at least one SCU because you never know when you're going to run out of crayons, and you don't know. I mean, I think there's no place that I know of that actually sells crayons. So I'm guessing New Babbage might sell them. I don't know. So
Crayons seem like a Lorville thing.
oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's where all the Marines come from. They recruited out of Lorville.
Yeah.
Out of the slums of Lorville.
Bag helmets, man. They've been wearing bag helmets. All right. I've seen them. Those are future Marines. Every time I walk by one, I'm like, poor guy. He's a good kid, though. He's going to do good things.
He'll really run at that machine gun nest with gusto.
This is how I know you're in the Navy because my wife was raised my father-in-law's in the Navy, was in the Navy, and my wife, when she played Halo for the first time, she called all the Marines meat shields, and she would she'd be like, "Go meat shields, go before me and take all the bullets so I can deal with this later."
Yeah.
Oh,
and then I'd be like, "That's mean." She's like, "They're still my meat shields. I'm still sad when they die, but that's what their job is to go in front of the bullets."
And honestly, that is totally a Navy thing. Although I would argue that I'm with you. Like, I personally love the Marines. I have the utmost respect for a Marine. They're great. They are loyal to a fault. They are hardworking. They are the most respectful. Sometimes, like at the junior enlisted ranks, like I love Marines. Absolutely love Marines. Even when they're eating crayons, they're just they're so lovable. I don't know how you don't love Marines.
Yeah,
they're great people.
They do a very good job of instilling discipline and making them exceptionally professional. And I think that is a super strong point for the Marines. They are pretty great.
Yeah. You would never catch a Marine talking to a Attira like I am today.
Yeah.
That is a Navy submariner thing that is going on. Like, a Marine is probably horrified by the way that I'm talking out loud to him pretty much regularly. And I respect that about them. I respect that about them almost more than anything. So, but yeah, they're good kids. They're good kids. Good crayon-eating kids, but...
I will also add to the fact that there's a I can't remember the name of the channel. He does is a former army just this thing called Quack Bang, where he talks about a lot of friends who were in the service. He's veteran overseas, and he has a video where he just says, "Make friends with Marines because they can drink you under the table. They will, if something happens to you, they will move heaven and earth to keep you safe. And when something goes wrong and the cops show up, one of them is always a Marine, so you're always going to be fine. And you might wake up the next morning not remembering anything, but you'll wake up next morning in your bed if you're hanging out with a Marine.
Yeah, they will not leave you behind. Hoorah! Yeah, I'm down with Marines. So, I love those guys.
Yeah. All right. So next question comes from Supposit, who asks, which movies capture your real life professions the best?
None. Absolutely not. None.
Yeah.
Not even Zero Dark 30 or any of those like more based off true stories.
Hollywood is an absolute abject failure at reflecting military life.
I'll give you a couple good ones from my side, but I would be surprised, if there's a military intelligence thing that's even close.
But there's not even an armor thing that comes close.
Not even Fury,
which is my other.
Well, I guess that was really early.
So yeah, I mean, we love to throw best job I ever had. And
Yeah.
but there are tactical failures in that any tanker watching that movie was like flipping tables and getting frustrated with right? That like a private knows better. So there's but that was a great movie. Yeah. So okay, thank you. Yes. Okay. I'll take Fury. Sure.
Yeah. Okay.
But I don't know that for MI. No, there's absolutely not that reflects sitting in a windowless building on your computer, hating your life. Office Space.
Office Space.
There you go.
I think it's quoted a lot in the Navy too.
Are you telling me you're not Jason Bourne or what's his name? The
Treadstone dude?
Yeah, the Treadstone. Not Treadstone dude, the other one. The
Talking about Jack Ryan.
Jack Ryan. Some of all
I love that TV show. Absolutely.
It's a great TV show.
Yes.
It's great fiction. Fantastic
great fiction. Yeah.
I always like to think of that as because people forget that the person who wrote James Bond was an actual British intelligence agent during World War II. And it's like, this is what he hoped. This is what he wished his job was like. Because I know the writer Clancy was in I think he was in Navy intelligence or something like that. And so I'm like,
pretty sure he was.
Ryan, yeah. I think he was just writing based off of what he wished his job was, and not just staring at a screen for 17 hours a day.
Absolutely, yeah.
I see a lot of people quoting down Periscope for the Navy for like submarining. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, that's like a half truth. Like, I honestly don't like it that much. It's funny because even like my fellow submariners are like, when they pick a movie that's the closest, they're like, immediately they quote down Periscope. They're like, oh yeah, like that's real. And there are so many inconsistencies in that movie where I'm like, dude, no, that's not how that works at all. So I've got an issue with that one as a choice. I actually like Hunt for Red October a lot in some aspects.
Like fantastic movie, yeah.
Yeah. And what I tell you they get right is the space on board, even on board that Russian submarine, which is huge. Like when he goes to his stateroom to talk to the political officer, and that's the captain's stateroom, and they're both crammed into the table. Like that's pretty realistic in terms of space on a submarine. And I kind of appreciate it for that. Crimson Tide is abysmal. Do not take that for any kind of gospel. And then I'll give you one thing, a little bit of side note for a movie that does actually capture one aspect of my profession pretty close. If you guys have not watched the Chernobyl HBO series, that is about the closest you're ever going to see for nuclear power being represented in.
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I watched that and I was like, wow, that's pretty close. That's pretty close on all fronts.
Somebody keeps asking Das Boot.
I mean, I live in the nuclear submarine world, so
yeah.
Not the diesel electric World War II era.
I would love to guys, I'm sorry, I can't really speak too much on what life was like on the diesel electric side. That was long since done when I joined the Navy. I am not Attira. I have not been in the military since 1984, so I can't tell you what life was like on the diesel electric boat.
I hate to tell you this, but we were at nuclear in 1984, so.
No, I was just giving you a reference though of that time period. I know you've been in a long time.
Yeah, 1884.
You're closer.
That's much closer.
I'm sorry, that's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah, when I was charging across the battlefield on horseback, it's fine. Look,
you're holding up well. You look good.
I know. Yeah.
Gosh, what was it? There's it's Three Kings was what I was trying to think of. It's like Three Kings is
what a
I always felt like Three Kings kind of shows the kind of crazy shit that can go down. Not necessarily it's realistic, but like the fact that bored soldiers will do some weird shit to stay sane in a battlefield.
Yeah, I mean, bored soldiers do weird stuff, but well, Three Kings was about stealing gold, right?
Yeah, it was about stealing Iraqi gold.
Yeah, I mean, look,
absolutely bonkers.
A couple of times, I've carried several $1 million worth of denarii across Baghdad from the print plant that was in our sector to the bank in downtown Baghdad. And yeah, we're not like driving off into the sunset with a couple $1 million in dinari, right? I mean, nobody's doing that. Like,
So tell me, Battlefield Bad Company wasn't a documentary? I can't. Just
yeah, they're not paying us in gold. Yeah, we had a print plant for money in our sector. We absolutely didn't sit there and like take 10 denarii off every, whatever. It's not quite. It's not stupid stuff. Stupid stuff. Not attempting gold heists, right? I mean,
not end up in front of a court martial kind of jobs.
Absolutely.
Someone asked, "What's a good movie portraying my profession?" None of them. No,
Stand and Deliver.
Not even.
Stand and Deliver is not a good one.
No, like people will talk about like The Blind Side, and it's like that is the dumbest movie, or like oh gosh, what's the one? It's the one with a woman who's based off a true story.
Michelle Pfeiffer. Michelle Pfeiffer. Is it the one with the Coolio?
Maybe, I don't remember which one. It was the one where she was like the English teacher, and she was running around like talking at them and trying to be. I was like, this is the dumbest. This woman.
Show my age.
Worst.
I'll say Dead Poet Society.
Yeah, even that. Like it's like these are like these stories about these hopeful come ups, and you're gonna make everyone feel better. Hell no, that's not how teaching works. Teaching works where you teach 150 to 300 kids. You barely remember their names. You do your best to try to keep them straight and work with them, and then that changes every year. It just like goes through and through and through, and you're never able to really You hope that the fellow teachers can pull them up and continue their education until they can get they're good standing citizens and they get the education they need to do the job they want to. You care about them, but God, I wish I had 30 kids for that entire year and that's all I had to worry about. That'd be heaven. Like, oh God. The one thing that, and it's just like every cop movie, every cop will tell you, is that the one thing that movies never get right is the paperwork. Most of most jobs is just paperwork.
Yeah.
So even teaching is mostly paperwork.
Yeah.
I do a lot of paperwork.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of paperwork.
Which is why I like Hot Fuzz's jokes about paperwork, about like how it's like the shootout happens and they're like, oh, what are you gonna do now? We got a lot of paperwork to fill out because it's like, got to account for every single bullet fired. It's like, if a teacher was to do with all of the crazy things you see in a squad, I'm sure like a military intelligence or a submariner was to do all the crazy things you see in the movies, there would be so much paperwork that would have to be filled out just for that. All right. This is the last very serious question from Astro Chronicles, who does a fantastic YouTube series where he takes ships and concept ships and comes up with his own concept ships for Star Citizen, who asks, rum and Coke at Area 18, or martini at New Babbage, or shot of cheap vodka at Grimhex, or glass of water at Orison, or just get punched in the face by Lorville security.
Beer at Delamar.
Beer at Delamar, yeah.
I can't believe that's your answer to that.
I'm
like really mad you stole that.
Cold beer at Delamar.
A cheap beer at Delamar. Because it's not.
Yeah, it can be cheap. It's got to be cold.
You know what? I'm going to go with the option. Taco out of a taco truck in Pyro. Like out of the side of a cutlass. Taco out of a side of a cutlass in Pyro. All right. Best taco you're ever going to have in your universe. That's it.
Oh, I thought you were going to give us options on the food side, and I was like, I don't care what he says until he gets to Double Dog.
Double Dog.
That's the best. That's the best Star Citizen food there is.
Yeah.
2 hot dogs on a bun. I don't know why we're not doing it in the States yet. I'm doing it at home, by the way.
Yeah.
Ever since I've seen one in Star Citizen, it's like, man, 2 hot dogs, same bun. It's happening now.
There we go.
Oh man, phrasing. That was unfortunate.
Yep. I have so many things to throw at you for being in the Navy and loving that, and I can't say it because it will demonetize Paul. Look, just know everything that you're thinking in your head. I'm Throwing at
Yeah.
you, and it absolutely wins me this podcast.
Yeah.
And
damn
everyone
it.
and everyone who's watching this knows this
Yeah.
too, because it's all of those thoughts.
You handed me the victory.
I did. I did.
With that, thank you for Attira Kell N1ghtcob for coming on and hanging out with us. Make sure you're checking out the Armchair Admirals and Generals on youtube.com/@tree0311 to check out those as well. Check out Soldier's Opinion on Attira Kell. It's youtube.com/AttiraKell, just like it's there. And check us out live, twitch.tv/TheAstroPub at 3 p.m. Pacific, 6 p.m. Eastern, to ask your own questions. And I want to know your questions and your thoughts on any of these questions down below. If you're watching this on YouTube, little comments. Make sure you like the video because it helps spread the word to other people. It feeds the algorithm. And if you're watching this, well, no, because I will. Never mind. I often like to do a premiere for the first part of the show so that people who are watching it, and people always ask, "Is this live?" It's like, no, it was live on Saturday, but I premiered it, so that's whatever. And thank you, like I said, everyone. Time. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember, nope, I'm not gonna do that. Hope to see you someday in the black.